Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Bard College Awards. My name is Jane Bryan, and that's good. And I'm the Director of Alumni Affairs. I'm also a member of the class of 1989. It is my absolute pleasure to be the first to welcome all the family, friends, faculty, and staff who are joining us here tonight. This is the first in a marathon session of events. And does this sound weird? Am I too close? Can you? Okay. It's all right? Okay. So the Bard College Awards offers a glimpse into what Bardians can do. Tonight, we honor alumni, friends, and faculty for their artistic, scientific, and civic contributions both in the world and here at Bard. Every year, I leave this event more Bardian and proud, and I know you will too. So, really, I don't usually make a speech, but I get to, so I'm going to. Bard takes chances. They took a chance on me. High school in London in the 80s was not my finest hour. I see my friends and former colleagues, Bonnie, Mary, where are you? Bonnie, Marcus, Mary Backlund from admissions, and they took a chance on me, and they saw something in me and changed my life forever. So I think we know Bard changes lives. When I worked in admission for 10 years, I had the pleasure of accepting a generation of international students to the college, including some that we're honoring here tonight. Bard admission, now led by alumnus George Hamill. Where's George? Carefully crafts a class of deserving students who will use this place well. And look at what you've all done. We have BPI students, BAC students, displaced students, OEI scholars, as well as traditional liberal arts students who specifically chose Bard because of our faculty, our work in the world, our work in the community, and their fellow students who become friends for the rest of their lives. I'm also a parent of a Bard student who, like me, was not valedictorian material. But he is now a thriving junior computer science and philosophy major, currently studying at Fulbright University, Vietnam. Yay, Fulbright! Bard is bold, and it always was. From offering a home to intellectual emigres from the 30s, like Heinrich Blücher, to Hungarian refugees in the 1950s, like Laszlo Bito, to iconoclasts who came to Bard in the 1970s, whereas my 70s folks, and laid the foundation for the type of school it is today. Bard is stronger, bolder, and offers an education that is more necessary than ever. So it is my privilege to open this ceremony, and I would like to personally recognize and congratulate Leon Botstein for his 51 years of tireless, fearless, fearless, inspirational, and incredibly hard work here. On behalf of everyone whose lives have been changed by this bold and beautiful place, I thank you, Leon. It is now my pleasure to introduce my dear friend Another tireless person, a volunteer, the president of the Bard College Alumni Association Board of Governors, Mollie Meikle. Yay!
Thanks, Mollie. Thank you, Jane. Good evening, and welcome everyone to the Bard College Awards. I'm your host, Mollie Meikle, class of 2003, and president of the Bard College Alumni Association Board of Governors. First off, isn't it exciting to be here, kicking it old school, old Bard in the tent? That's right, alums, welcome back. It's great to see so many of you here tonight. And to think, in just about 20 hours, this tent will look very different, and it will be full of Bard seniors, a ceremony away from joining us as Bard alumni. But first tonight, we celebrate alumni, faculty, staff, and friends of the Bard community. The Bard College Awards are brought to you by the Bard College Alumni Association Board of Governors, with guidance from the board's nomination committee, chaired by Ryan Messina, class of 2006, and Sonia Hood, class of 1990. I would like to recognize current members of the Board of Governors. Thank you for your continued time, support, and energy. I also want to celebrate all of you who came back to reunion, classes and your 1s and 6s. You're here? Are you excited? What's up? It's going to be a great weekend in Annandale. I wonder how many of you feel like I do when I first get to campus. The slow drive up Annandale Road with the windows down, past the hexagonal house and Tewksbury. Is it 1999? Am I trying to find Keene South? Am I ready for this? It's easy to get back there, but it's important to be here in the present. Tonight, you'll hear from alumni at the top of their fields. They are changing lives and making the world a better place. They are leading by example and making us proud. They are ready for it. And let us not forget that Bard College is doing the same. 10 free public high schools in 6 cities across the country granting Bard degrees, Bard credits, and associate degrees. More than 400 students across 7 sites enrolled in the Bard Prison Initiative, working toward associate, bachelor's, and master's degrees. Education without borders. More than 2,000 displaced students taking college classes in Myanmar, Kenya, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, plus 85 more on campus in Annandale. And 14 graduate programs in locations from the Hudson Valley to the West Bank. And still, an undergraduate college with an 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio, where a girl from New Hampshire can find a place and is indeed ready for it. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Daniel Mendeslin, the Charles Ranlett Flint Professor of Humanities.
I was given an impossible brief to introduce Leon and to be brief. To introduce Leon Botstein to you all tonight is a task at once daunting and, if I may say, a tiny bit redundant. Redundant because anyone who is here tonight, which is to say Bard alumni, Bard honorees, Bard professors, and friends and relatives thereof, is of course already well aware of who President Botstein is and of the extraordinary achievement represented by his half-century tenure as president, during which time he created one of the most distinguished, vital, and distinctive educational institutions in this country, or indeed anywhere. I very much doubt, furthermore, that anyone in this audience this evening will be surprised by any of the items on President Botstein's long and dazzling CV, which, even apart from his presidency of the college and all the remarkable things it has contributed to the world of higher education and the intellectual life of this country, includes significant achievements as a scholar and public intellectual in his own right, and of course, in the world of music, not only as a conductor who has, among many other things, single-handedly revived interest in so many neglected works over the years, an achievement that would in and of itself mark Leon Botstein as a major figure in American culture over the past 2 generations, but as well as the author of a number of books on various composers. I suppose that the only real surprise this evening for all of us would be find out when, or perhaps I should say if, Leon Botstein ever sleeps. So much for my remarks being redundant. As for daunting, the task of introducing this multifaceted figure in a way that goes beyond an itemized list, that, in other words, gives a vivid sense of the equally remarkable personality behind the resume, is no easy charge. And I must say, I was not only honored, but slightly panicked when I was asked to introduce Leon tonight. Luckily, for nearly half of my 20 years at Bard, I have been working on a translation of Homer's Odyssey, a saga about a man who was also famously accomplished and just as notoriously hard to describe. So I have cheated tonight and culled some key adjectives from Homer's epic in order to suggest some of the many facets of Leon Botstein's personality. And as a good Greek teacher, I'm going to start out by telling you that almost all of the adjectives used of Odysseus in the Odyssey begin with the Greek word poly, which, as you may remember from your SAT prep, means many. A good start, I think, for any description of President Botstein. Polyphronos, big brain. This is a word that is used to describe a man of high intelligence who uses his frame, polyphronos, a lot. And what's interesting about the word frame is that it's not just the mind, but also the seat of feeling, too, the thing that makes us conscious of ourselves as humans. One thing known to those of us who have had the privilege of working with Leon Botstein is not only his enormous intellect, but his deep humanity, expressed in so many acts of kindness and generosity over the years. Polymetes. Metes is the Greek word for cunning intelligence or shrewdness, wisdom as opposed to just intellect. You may remember that the goddess Athena sprang full grown from the head of her father Zeus, but her actual mother was called Metis. She had good genes. So Leon is polymetes. And the fact that we are here today, as so many small colleges are facing and sometimes not surviving existential challenges, is a testament to the polymetes nature of Leon Botstein and reminds us of his ingenuity over the past 5 decades in keeping the college going and leaving it with $1 billion endowment, a small miracle. Polymechanos, A mechanos, or mechane, is actually where we get the word machine from. It means a device, a contrivance, an invention. So he is a man of great contrivances and great creativity, a man who finds a way. Just strolling around campus suggests how much our president has created, has found a way to turn dreams into realities. The Fisher Center, RKC, the Maya Lin Studio, it's an extraordinary place to be where doodles on napkins become very beautiful buildings. Politlas. Tlas means endurance. So a politlas person is a man who has endured much in order to realize his aims, who has had to put up with a great deal in order to achieve things. Anyone who has run a meeting in a room full of PhDs knows what this means, and I won't go any farther on that topic. And finally, politropos. Ask any classicist what the hardest word in Greek is to translate, and they will immediately tell you that it is a word that is used to describe Odysseus in the very first line of the Odyssey. It literally means a man of many ways, of many turns of minds, a man who knows how to turn things over and around, to consider things in new and novel ways, a man who always finds a way. In short, a multifaceted person of seemingly endless complexity, endlessly interesting, inexhaustibly active and creative. It is my pleasure then to introduce you to this man, Leon Botstein, our man of many ways, who for many of us at Bard College has been, to use another word from the Homeric epics, a true hero.
So to be introduced by Daniel is to render an intelligent person mute. One of the privileges of this job is the recruitment of people to teach. Nothing we do sets the tone and the standard and the aspiration of a place of learning than the people we hire to teach. And among the luckiest days of my career was the ability to convince Daniel to come teach here. Where is he sitting? I gotta find him. There he is. And for those of you who do not know, that he is a fantastic writer who is able to command your attention with a beauty and a vivid character of prose on an immense variety of subjects, ranging from Netflix shows to the poetry of Cavafy to his work as a translator and essayist and observer, and an utterly charismatic teacher and presence. So Daniel was for me the highest aspiration of an individual who really believed that the intellectual, literary, philosophic tradition could alter the conduct of life. That being a student and caring deeply about words and language was a path to a better world, and that students would see that. And a person who is in part a protector and an extender of an intellectual tradition. Take the Odyssey. He has brought it to a new generation of readers and of interest. He even wrote a book about teaching it and the relationship of the book to his own father. So it isn't an abstract intellectual exercise. Bard is here not to promote the careers of scholars in isolation. So I remember very well that Daniel is one of the people that other institutions want to poach from us. And I remember a conversation with him when Princeton came back another time to steal him away. And so he called me, and I was in a hotel room in Buffalo because I was I was a guest conductor with the Buffalo Philharmonic, and I was feeling good, and then I got this call that Princeton was, and Princeton is the exact opposite, not in excellence, but in its bank account. And we didn't have an endowment, and it was a struggle. And I admired that he turned them down. And I'm deeply admiring of him, and he has really, his presence lifts my spirit, and I am very touched that he actually worked on this introduction and didn't wing it, because had he done that, he would have been great. And I want to thank you very much. Now, for those who have been here before, as Mollie suggested, that the format is a little different. We used to have this event this way, but then I don't know why, we turned it into a cocktail party, and then the awards in Sosnoff. And year after year, everybody came to the cocktail party and nobody came to the awards. So it was sort of giving awards in private. And we went on with this. And then finally we decided to change. And I hope you enjoy this new format. And I want to thank Mollie and Deborah Pemstein and all the development office people for changing it around. First of all, we made it shorter. And it was one of the ideas that we had in the fall, and I think it looks like it's worked out very well. I have a lot of people to thank. In the first instance, I want to thank the trustees of the college and ask those who are here tonight to stand. And I thank them for many years of support and dedication to the college. Some are alumni, some are not. And I also want to welcome the new chair of the board, Brandon Weber. He doesn't look entirely happy, and he probably has a better idea than most of what he's in for. But It's very important and very significant, and it bodes well for the future. Um, I, Daniel, having started these proceedings, uh, the second constituency that is very important are the faculty. And for those of you who are on the faculty at the college, if you wouldn't mind standing, if you're here. So being a faculty member, especially in these times in an American college or university, isn't quite as glamorous as it might seem, especially if you look at academic movies made in the 40s and 50s. The pay is somewhat better, but the public approbation is not that great. And there's an asymmetry. Those of us who went on to higher degrees, in Daniel's case, a PhD, but many classmates went on to medical school or law school or business school. And the differentials in the income become troubling the older one gets. And one asks, why does the nation reward or not reward different professions that require the same effort? My heart breaks when someone writes a serious book, and I publish in many books that nobody reads. And maybe because they're not good, but there are so few people who actually are interested in the subject. And often the readers are one's own scholarly competitors who can't wait to write a review that indicates that if they had written the book, it would be better. So the reward system that is not monetary, the monetary reward system is not great, and the non-monetary reward system isn't great either. So the only way to get real satisfaction is actually in the relationship to one's students, is in the act of teaching. And in the day of AI and machine learning, and this is a reminder of what is irreplaceable about our humanity. It's not only the writing of the Odyssey and the translating of the Odyssey and the interpretation of the Odyssey and the teaching of the Odyssey. And that is only done in the kind of environment that we have. We will actually be more important with time than any of the great universities with their lecture halls. We don't worry about AI because only a small minority of our students are dumb enough to think that's a good thing to do, because they're in a place where they can really experience learning, which is part of a relationship between an individual and a teacher. It's a personal relationship, and it is one that can't be realized in a massive situation. And this is a wonderful place to teach because of our students and who they are, even if they're not particularly engaged. They make a better case for age-appropriate laziness than any other undergraduates I've ever seen. And I have most contact with music students and with dual degrees, and they do a terrific job of combining interests. And so it is really a rewarding experience to teach. We have many of our faculty get visiting appointments, and you always think, well, they're going to stay at the other place. No, they come back because of the quality of teaching, the quality of students, the quality of the collegiality. Speaking of faculty, we had an awards dinner last night for the senior class, and we discovered that there are prizes in almost every field, but Deirdre Dalborough, the dean, and I realized we don't have a senior prize in chemistry. Now, chemists are a difficult lot. All scientists know it. They think of them as superior to the other experimental scientists, and they're rigidly conservative about the subject matter in the sense of the way it should be taught. And they're suspicious of biologists, and they're slightly frightened of but feel more relevant than physicists. And so they are a complex lot. And we have for juniors and sophomores, but we have no senior prize. So I realized this morning, and so at our trustee meeting today, I said, I'm going to give a gift, because it takes $10,000 to create an endowment for prize. And I'm going to give a gift. I can't give all of it, but I'm going to start it off. We'll raise the rest. And then spontaneously, a chemist who's now on our board for a long time, Stanley Reichel, said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of the rest. So, I'm pleased to announce an award in chemistry given to a senior in the name of Hilton Weiss. So Hilton is here tonight, and rumor has it that he has reached or passed his 90th birthday. And he's very happily married to another chemist, which makes perfectly good sense, to Kim Touchette, an alumna of the college. And I thought he might be here tonight, so Stanley and we hurried up to get this prize into place. Starting next year, annually, there'll be a Hilton Weiss Prize for graduating senior in chemistry. So Mollie mentioned that, I think Jane mentioned, and Mollie maybe has as well, that we have a very pioneering place in the education of refugees and displaced students, and that we have pioneered. I think we have had more Afghan refugees from the fall of Kabul than any other institution. We have I wish we had a larger contingent of Ukrainians who are in need of getting a higher education, dissident Russians, and other displaced students. One of our alumni, Rebecca Granato, runs a refugee camp and displaced persons educational program out of Nairobi. And we have a terrific record of dealing with refugees and displaced students at our campus in Berlin, Bard Berlin. And a person who helped us just recently got an honorary degree from Bard Berlin, from us, from Bard, at Bard Berlin, for his work in that field. He's here tonight, and that's Vinnie McGee. But you may have heard one of the events of the year was that one of our Afghan refugee students was detained by ICE and was detained in horrific conditions, both in New York State and in New Jersey. And the institution fought tirelessly. You'll hear about this later. I want to give credit to another graduate of the college who's Vice President of the institution and Chief of Staff, Amelia Dumont. And the institution applied relentless pressure to get him released. And I want to also thank the Bishop of New York, Matthew Hyde, who's ex officio member of our board, and Jonathan Becker and the Center for Civic Engagement, the student body, the faculty, the community, and the governor of the state of New York, and the recently retired governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, a Bard parent. And I want to ask that Ali Farikizada, who is the student who was released, to stand. He's here tonight with his sister. He's here with his sister, and when the family came to visit me to thank us for standing behind him, I think I said this to him and his family. The thanks go the other way, just as is the case for those who teach in BPI and the prison initiative that Max Kenner created and runs brilliantly. And for those of us who teach and work in the Bard High School Early College Network, being able to do that, to help protect an individual against the abuse of power and the failure to recognize the fundamental rights in a democracy, does a favor for us. We get more sense of our own worth than we've given to you in helping you return to freedom. So we are grateful. I've been here a long time and learned that I came here with the arrogance of youth that I could do everything myself. And my instinct was to micromanage, but I quickly grew out of that, and I'm the beneficiary of the tremendous quality of people who are my colleagues in the administering of the college. So they are strewn around the room. I see them, and I want to ask all of my colleagues in the administration to stand. They do the hard work and they bring quality to the result. And Bard wouldn't be the place it is without their help. And I thank all the alumni and the Board of Governors, all the graduates who have stood by us. And of course, all the donors. Nothing is possible without money. And somebody has to earn it, somebody has to give it, or there's no other easy way to get it. I've always thought about printing, but that seems to be a lost cause. But as was mentioned, we have successfully completed the first serious endowment drive in the college's history, owing to the generosity of George Soros and the generosity of many, many people who have contributed to the match which was required. Mr. Soros is a very shrewd individual. So this was a challenge grant that did not permit approximation. Couldn't raise 400 and you get 400. No, it was 500 or zero. So we had to raise dollar for dollar match, which we did. I want to thank Deborah and her team, many people here in the room who contributed, and we made it. And that was only at the end of the 5-year limit. I somehow thought we'd make this much more quickly. Somebody offers you $500 million, you would say, that sounds like a great deal, we'll match it, right? No, people said, that's great, congratulations. And they assumed, well, we don't really have to match it. They wouldn't dare not give it. Trust me, they dared. And it was not an easy task and took 5 years. The college, in order to maintain the quality of what it does, the range of its distinction, its idealism, the right kind of financial aid to students, 70% of our students get, over 70% get financial aid. To do everything we do needs another $1 billion of endowment. There is not enough money to maintain what we do. We have much more money than we ever had before, but it's not enough. And the college faces the most difficult decade in its recent history. A decline in demography, a hostile, corrupt federal government that is eviscerating the conduct of science, a mistrustful public, an attitude to immigrants and international relationships that deters people from coming to the United States, once the premier destination from students from abroad from attending. We've had a long tradition of students from abroad. So the obstacles facing us are enormous. So if you think we're going to stop asking you for money, forget about it. Because it's money that we genuinely need. It's been the tradition to sort of just quickly tell you, in case you don't know, things that have changed. I urge you to look at the new dormitory complex, North Campus, and we now have enough beds to house the whole student body. And that wasn't the case. Many of you who are graduates remember that almost half the student body lived off campus. The real estate values around here have skyrocketed and made it impossible. So we finally have built beautiful dorm facilities and on the campus that permits students to live on campus. If you go further north, you'll see the almost complete new Maya Lin studio building, which is an architectural jewel. And if you wander south, you'll go to what is called now the Messina campus, which used to be the old St. Joseph Seminary, and then the Unification Church, and then a theological seminary for what may not ever have been a religion. And that collapsed, and we ended up being asked by the community to buy it in order to protect it from developers. So we now have 1,200 acres on the Hudson. And having bought it through the generosity of two of our trustees, that we didn't know what to do with it. It looked to us like a set for a Stephen King movie. It certainly wasn't adequate. It was a monk's dormitory, which doesn't quite cohere with our undergraduate student body. And it couldn't be used for that, so we were stymied until a wonderful solution occurred to us, which is to move Simon's Rock here. And we've named it the Messina campus because the original Livingston House there was named, for reasons I cannot explain, for one of Napoleon's marshals. And so it is the Messina campus, and it has turned out to be a terrific facility and almost entirely renovated. There's more work to be done, but I urge you to take a look at that. Finally, once the capital campaign, the endowment campaign was done, it was clear to me that 51 years is more than enough to prove that I've outlasted other college presidents. Like running a race and everybody's gone home and you're still running. In addition, I will turn 80 in December. And that created an echo of mistakes made by people that age, including our last president, of staying too long. I couldn't retire without giving my successor a runway, not a trust fund, but a runway. You know the difference. Now, they're mixing metaphors because trust funds don't fly. But airplanes do take off from runways, and the runway, if I have my physics right, has to be long enough, right? And the first time that happened was in early January. So and it's not altogether dignified to be 80 running an institution where the average age of students is 18 or 19 or 20. And if you take into consideration one of the most important things we do, which is the Bard High School Early College Network, we have nearly 4,000 students. I see Ray Peterson is here. Is he here? Is Ray here? No, but Dumaine is here. So Dumaine, William. Who is the dean of the early colleges, a Bard graduate, has his PhD in biology, not chemistry, I'm pleased to say, and that he was principal in Cleveland and worked in Newark and now oversees the network. So if you include that population, it brings the average age down even further. And the Simon's Rock population, it's brought up a little bit by all the students that Jonathan Becker and the international operations we have spread around the world many with adults, brings the average age up, but it's not totally fitting. So, I'd always intended to retire from this job, but people have asked me in the cocktail hour, I'm not retiring. I will assume my faculty position and oversee the performance activities of the conservatory and Summerscape and the Bard Music Festival. And I will assume a role fundraising for the college as president emeritus. You always wonder what the emeritus status is. So if you're a faculty member, it's not automatic. It's given to those people for two reasons. One is their distinction during their career, and the second reason, if we need help, you're, in a sense, certified to return to active service. So as President Emeritus, I hope to be of continuing help to the college and will be a part of this community until I fully retire. And my children know this, and my entire family, that I don't work to live. I've always lived to work. And this college has been a privilege to lead and to be part of, and I'm deeply proud of its people and what it contributes, its commitment to the arts, its incredibly wide and important actions on behalf of the public and of the improvement of education. So it's been a privilege and an honor to be the president, and I look forward to being part of the community and continuing to support its mission until I'm no longer able to work. I lost my brother this year, and my other sibling is struggling, and I didn't believe that actually time was infinite, and time is the most precious thing left. And I would like to use it on behalf of the college in a different way, both as a scholar and a performer and a teacher. So I'm grateful for that opportunity, grateful to the board for providing it for me, and grateful to all of you for your support and enthusiasm for this institution. So thank you very much.
Well, it's my pleasure to have so much cover to say very little. I tend to take full advantage of that. So let me just say on behalf of the board, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming, celebrating all these great awardees. It's one of the great moments of the weekend for me always, and I'm proud to be here. So let me just thank my fellow board members, thank all the staff, everyone who made this evening possible, and the staff at Bard, and what you've accomplished is amazing, as Leon pointed out. And of course, thank all the faculty for being here. And I want to get us going, and so I want to bring Mollie back, and let's get the awards going.
So now we're going to start the presentation of awards. On your tables, you'll find the program, and I will draw your attention to the full citations inside, which contains more information about this year's award recipients. I now call upon Barbara S. Grossman, class of 1973, and member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Brooke Jude, Associate Professor of Biology, to come forward with the recipient of the Bard Medal.
I have the honor of introducing Audrey Lasher Smith, class of 1978, who will receive the Bard Medal, Bard College Alumni Association's highest honor.
Audrey Lasher Smith, since your early years accompanying your mother and father to work on campus as a child, bussing tables at Campus Cafe in Hageman before enrolling as an undergraduate, your connection to Bard has been lifelong, dedicated, and true. You helped found Bard's Transportation and Bard Emergency Medical Services and have been an essential member of the Department of Buildings and Grounds. Your 53 years of generous and empathic service have helped shape the very spirit and fabric of Bard College.
Good evening, everybody. Usually I'm behind the scenes this time of year, so being center front is a bit of a change for me, and honestly, overwhelming right now. But I am in good company as I stand here. I first want to thank the Board of Trustees, Board of Governors, the Alumni Association, Leon, Colleen, Mollie, Deborah, Jane, Janet, and the Bard community at large. My deepest appreciation and respect to each and every one of you. Receiving this award is beyond my comprehension. I give thanks for being part of B&G and Bard since 1973, when I arrived as an eager freshman. My 4 years of Bard education made me the person I am today, and for that I am forever thankful. My job at Bard and B&G has been my most rewarding work for over 50 years. For every email, work order, phone call, the chance to help those students, parents, faculty, and staff in any way that would make their day easier or happier. This was the job I was always ready to undertake, and the smiles and the hugs were just an added advantage. I've been in the company of so many wonderful people all these years. So many memories and friendships, and hopefully many more to come. My deepest thanks to Chuck Simmons and Randy Klum, who are not only my B&G bosses, but became and still are my lifelong friends. And of course, who can forget Dick Griffiths, my first boss, and became my second dad after my dad passed away. To my dear sister Carol, my life mentor through thick and thin, my friend for life, I love you, sister. To my daughter Sam, class of 2016, MAT 2017. She has carried the torch and continues to do so, serving and teaching in the educational community. You are my forever hero, Bean. I continue to be part of Bard and attending and supporting such a great place as often and as much as I can. It's ingrained in me. You can't take Bard out of the girl. So in closing, let me say thank you to all for letting me be part of this big family I call Bard. And of course, always Bardian and proud. Thank you so much.
I now call upon Betsy Eli, class of 1965, and member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Frank Corliss, Director of Faculty for Bard College Conservatory of Music, to come forward with the recipient of the Bard Medal.
I have the great honor of introducing Olivia B. Carino, who will receive the Bard Medal, Bard College Alumni Association's highest award.
Olivia B. Carino, you're a person of extraordinary energy, generosity, and optimism. You've championed individuals of talent, many with intellectual disabilities, literary and musical organizations, animal welfare, libraries, hospices, medical institutions, and the Roma people of Hungary. You've strengthened Bard's intellectual and artistic community by your support of the Bard Conservatory and countless students. Alongside your late husband, Laszlo Bito, you fought for the restoration of democracy in Hungary. Your example reminds us that the college flourishes through the dedication of those who believe in its mission.
Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Mollie. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Frank. I am profoundly grateful and deeply happy to receive the award today. Also on behalf of my late husband, Laszlo Bito. My journey to Bard started in 1957 when Laszlo entered the college. He was a chemistry major. He was chemistry major, so thank you for the prize. Actually, only a few months before he entered Bard, Laszlo was a slave worker in Hungary. You see him in the slide in his coal miner's uniform. Bard offered to him an environment that nourished his mind, helped him speak his words, his truth, without fear, allowed him to pursue his missions without, even though he had to go against the existing dogmas. Bard provided for him so much that he could succeed as a humanist, a philosopher, and a distinguished scientist. Laszlo was grateful to Bard for the wonderful life that he lived. I, too, am grateful for mine. When I joined Laszlo in Bard, I got to know many individuals who have enriched my days. You can see on the next slide some familiar faces. There's Leon, Deborah Pamstein, Robert Martin, Frank Corliss, Peter Lucky, Jonathan Becker, Peter McCabe, Bob Edmonds, Leon is wondering when this picture was taken. Actually, it was just in my imagination, and fantastic bard graphic artist Jenna Obrisok put my vision together. This picture actually was taken, Leon, when we launched Laszlo's book in 2022, Eden Revisited. You were with us in spirit. And the many students I wouldn't be able to name tonight. Yes, the students. It was always so rewarding to work with the students, to learn from them, and sometimes just to be a grandma for them. One time, there were 13 students going home for the summer break, and they had to stay overnight in the city in order to catch their flights from JFK the next day. Guess what, Bard students? No hotel accommodations. What to do? Solution simple. All 13 students with 13 big suitcases squeezed themselves into my tiny apartment in the city. Like sardines. Bob Martin knows how small the apartment is. Well, they survived the night. They made the flights. They made it to grad school. They got married. They have children. It has really been a great pleasure to work with them. And I am so lucky to be part of the Bard community. Tonight, I would like to share with you one of the joys I have as a member of your family. Music played at the highest level. Thanks to Leon, Bob Martin, Frank Corliss. I give you Antonio Fiorenza, class of 2027. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Bard College.
I now call upon Brandon Weber, class of 1997, and member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Miriam Felton-Dansky, Associate Professor of Theater and Performance and Director of Bard's Undergraduate Theater and Performance Program, to come forward to present the Charles Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters to the recipient who will join us remotely tonight from Great Britain.
I have the honor of introducing Yusuf Kirkour, class of 2000, who will receive the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters, given in recognition of significant contributions to the American artistic or literary heritage.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, Bard.
Yusuf Kirkour, as an Arab actor in post 9/11 America, you encountered heightened stereotypes and relentless typecasting, but you persevered. You've become a leading voice in challenging stereotypes about Muslim and Arab performers, bringing complex characters to screens large and small. You've thrilled us with your performances, made us laugh, made us think, and made the world a better place through your art.
Thank you. I thought we'd gotten over all this during COVID times, but here we are again. Thank you very much for this great honor. Please stop me if you can't hear me. This is truly, truly wonderful. It's not something I ever expected to achieve. I said to my wife, I wish my alma mater would give me an award for doing something very clever or very smart. Something with medicine or science or something. Instead, I just play dress up and get paid for it, which, of course, upon reflection, makes me think, well, actually, maybe that is pretty smart. There must be something there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Leon. Thank you, Ryan and Sonia and the Board of Governors for the nomination, the trustees, everybody in the alumni office. Jane, thank you so much for everything in the months leading up to this and in the years. All your support has meant so much. And to the faculty and staff at Bard that make Bard what it is, and all my friends in the alumni community, my friends who I love and miss dearly. I'm a very, very proud Bardian. I always have been. I talk about Bard all the time. I remember my time there vividly. More importantly, I remember the person I was when I arrived at Bard in comparison to the person I was when I left Bard. And something in that transition is why I'm very happy to continue supporting Bard and championing it everywhere, especially these days, because the world seems to be going crazy. This, by the way, is not the first time I've done this on Zoom. I was nominated for an award here in England a couple years ago, and I wore my tuxedo on my top half during the ceremony and my pajamas at the bottom half, and it gives me great joy to let you all know this evening that tradition continues tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't thank some very important people, without whom, because I look at this award and it makes me immediately think about the fundamentals and the beginning, because my foundations are not my own. They're thanks to other people. My mother and father, who devoted their entire life to education. My mother was an early adopter of they're both teachers, and my mother was an early adopter of the multi-age learning system at the American school where I went to in Morocco. And my father was the first president of the first American university in Morocco, Al Akhawain University. And it was thanks to them that I developed whatever discipline I managed to continue to rely on. My business involves tenacity and patience, and that combination of determination and time as being the winning ingredient for everything, I think, is thanks to my parents. I also have to thank, as I always thank, the late Professor Frank O.J. of the psychology department at Bard, who was my mentor as I arrived from Morocco, ready to major in psychology. And He asked me how I was after the first semester. I took one Psych 101 class, and then the rest of it was all theater. And he asked me how I was, and I said, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm struggling, and I'm not doing well. And he said, well, I've been in psychiatry my whole life, or psychology my whole life, and I have history in psychiatry. And in my opinion, in my professional opinion, you are an actor. And that changed my life. He changed the trajectory of my life, because I had a very serious block about it when I arrived at Bard. And that's the sort of thing that you get for free in an institution like ours. It's really, truly beautiful. I thank also Professor Bob Rockman, who took me under his wing a little bit, and who was incredibly kind and nurturing and supportive of my work. And finally, also to somebody who you would normally not think about, but my dear friend Luis Moreno, who is a fantastic and beautiful actor, and was my sort of double at Bard. We were always cast opposite each other. We worked together, and everything I built over those 4 years was done opposite this fantastic, lovely man, without whom I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I'm, if I may put out a clarion call to champion our colleagues and those around us as being the source of a lot of our success. We don't do it alone, and we build on the work we all do together. I remember this weekend so vividly. It is a real trip to be able to pipe in from England and see you guys. I'm really loving this, and I can see you all clapping, but I can't hear anybody. So forgive me if I'm talking over everybody. And I'll just end with one little anecdote. When on graduation day after the ceremony, I went with my parents to their hotel in Rhinecliff in their rented car, and I locked the key inside the car, which you could still do back then. And we had to make it back in time for a reception that was happening or something. And there was no locksmith available, and so we called who I said were the best burglars in town, and 5 minutes later the sheriff's deputy showed up and took one look at me and demanded ID, which of course I had locked in the glove compartment of the car. And he took about 9 minutes to shimmy the car open. And I dove headfirst for the glove compartment. I pulled out my passport, and I slammed the door shut, and I handed him my passport. To find him staring at me. And he said, and I quote, "You did not just do that." And I said, and I quote, "I just shut the door and locked the car again." And he took 20 minutes shimmying that car open. Another 20 minutes, and when he opened it and we did all the rigmarole, my parents came out in their finest clothes, and he looked at us and he went, "What's the occasion?" And I said, "Oh, I just graduated from Bard College." So I thank you very, very much for this incredible honor. I feel very undeserving of it, and I love you all. I'm a very, very proud Bardian. Thank you. Thank you so much. Love from England.
As you can probably tell from your tables, it's dinner time. We'll be back in a little bit. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask your forbearance to eat quietly as possible, so we can proceed with the rest of the program and the delivery of awards. And I want to take the opportunity to do two things. First of all, to thank Jane Bryan, who made this entire thing possible. And we're never totally sure who's going to show up, but two people have shown up, and I'm pleased they're here. Both of them will be getting honorary degrees tomorrow. Jack Blum. One of our most devoted and loyal public servants, and we're proud to be able to honor you, Jack. We were going to do it last year, but it didn't work out, and I'm glad you're here this year, which is a great honor for us. And my one of my most esteemed colleagues, one of the finest scholars that I've had the pleasure to work with. She edited the Haydn volume for the Bard Music Festival several years back, and she'll be participating this summer also in the Mozart Festival. A very distinguished music historian, Elaine Sisman from Columbia University, who will get an honor degree tomorrow.
I now call upon Stanley A. Reichel, class of 1965, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Carrie Ann Norton, class of 2004, Associate Professor of Computer Science, to bring forward the recipient of the John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science.
The John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science is given to honor a scientist whose achievements demonstrate the breadth of concern and depth of commitment that characterize the pioneer physicians for whom the award is named. I am honored to announce that the 2026 recipient is Amy Bernard from the class of 1991.
We honor you, Amy Bernard, for embodying the interdisciplinary science and philanthropic spirit. Your research, focusing on gene expression and genetic signatures in brain development, has connected scientists all over the world. And your work as Vice President of Science at the Kavli Foundation, leading programs in nanoscience, neuroscience, and scientific philanthropy, has contributed greatly to the field of life sciences and technology.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much to the trustees, to all of the faculty at Bard, to the students and the friends and the extended family that I haven't actually seen in 35 years since I was last here at Bard. So thank you. And I have to say, when I started at Bard 39 years ago as a history and political sciences major, it would never have occurred to me that I would be here today to accept this award. And the surprise is mine because through the curiosity, the discovery, and the brilliance of the mentors and the faculty that I had to work with, I changed the direction that I was going in. So this was in large part due to a couple of people who are still here, to Hilton Weiss. Thank you. I can say for sure with this new prize that was created, I would not have been a recipient of that prize. So Hilton stuck with me while I struggled through my organic chemistry, and somehow I came out on the other side loving science. And then Ferg. So Ferg, John Ferguson, expressed his deep concern for the possibility that maybe biology wasn't for me, and that maybe I should apply myself just a little bit more. And it was at a time where that was what I needed to hear. And I did apply myself more and went on to continue and hopefully have done for biology and for philanthropy now more to inspire others as well. So thank you so much, and it is truly an honor to be here tonight.
I now call upon Betsy Eli, class of 1965, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Meikle Tibbetts, professor of biology, to bring forward the recipient of the John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science.
The John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science is given to honor a scientist whose achievements demonstrate the breadth of concern and depth of commitment that characterize the pioneer physicians for whom the award is named. I am honored to announce that the 2026 recipient is Matthew DiGennaro from the class of 1996.
This is an award that you're all going to be behind. It's about all our nemesis, mosquitoes. We honor you, Matthew DiGennaro, for your research on understanding how mosquitoes find their hosts and for developing technologies to interfere with that ability. Your teaching at the undergraduate and graduate levels, your efforts to bring scientific knowledge to the general public, and your engagement with your community through mosquito control programs model the college's highest ideals. You work in the public interest with the heart of an activist and the intellect of a scientist.
So I have a little speech. Thank you so much for this honor. Don't worry, I'm not going to go on too long. So I am incredibly honored and grateful to be here today to receive this award. From my earliest days, I had always been interested in the natural world, but in my teens, I became restless, interested in understanding not only the world inside, but changing the world inside me. Simon's Rock gave me the opportunity to pursue and examine life in an accepting place. And I'm so happy that Simon's Rock has found a new place here on very close to another campus that I love. And in addition, I hope as a scientist, a professor, and a mentor today that I'm upholding the values I've learned. When I left Simon's Rock, I felt so strongly about how much it had changed my life. Leaving high school early, being surrounded by a group of outsiders who were brilliant, and coming to Bard, I wondered, well, will Bard live up to what Simon's Rock had given me? And it did. And I met a whole new group of friends. I developed in new ways. I left the narrow bounds of what I thought of was biology, and I was ready for a little risk. So I decided I was going to be a major in history and philosophy of science. Peter Skiff, who ran the major, incredible guy, helped me develop and see science in a totally different light. I became a critic of science before I even became a practitioner. And I think that that has really helped me throughout my career. I grew in other ways. I took a Victorian Studies tutorial with Deirdre Dalbert. And this was so incredible. It fundamentally changed how I write and probably generated some of the grants that I've gotten, actually. I wrote a senior project about how eugenics attempted to shape American gynecology. And this made me question so many things. And, some of those questions still really linger in our society today. And all of these years later, I'm still teaching the lessons that I learned here every day by teaching my graduate students, undergrads, how to think critically, how to question, how to go to different places and not be confined to the narrow vision of what we thought was likely. This can imprison us as scientists, as people, and we have to see that there are other futures, other ways. And working at FIU in Miami has made this particularly clear to me. We have to let the data take us where it wants to. There is little that we can do to control where science takes us, and we cannot be afraid of that. I don't think that I could have become the geneticist, the neurobiologist, the vector ecologist that I've become without Simon's Rock and Bard. They helped me recreate how I see the world and myself, and I could not be more grateful for the impact of these two institutions on my life, and I hope that these two institutions survive for decades and decades to come. Thank you.
I now call upon Hillary Pennington, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Jonathan Becker, Executive Vice President and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Director of the Bard Center for Civic Engagement, and Professor of Political Studies, to bring forward the recipient of the John Dewey Award for Distinguished Public Service.
So one of the lessons I learned in working with Leon Botstein for more than 30 years is that you're not required to stick to the script. So bear with me for a second. I have the pleasure of working at the Center for Civic Engagement with Aaron Canan and other folk. And one of the things we try to do is to follow Martin Luther King's warning about a high blood pressure of words and an anemia of deeds. When Kabul fell in 2021, Leon Botstein, himself an immigrant, stood up when we evacuated nearly 200 students at the American University of Central Asia and American University of Afghanistan from Kabul. He offered a home to them and to other Afghans at Bard. And when Russia escalated its attacks on Ukraine, we offered a home for Ukrainian students and Russian dissidents, especially from Smolny at Bard. At a time when most college presidents' goal is to be neutral about everything, Bard, under Leon's leadership, is not neutral about educating underserved communities, not neutral about educating refugees, and not neutral about defending democracy, and we're a greater institution for that. The other thing we talk about is turning the I into the we, channeling Robert Putnam. And in this case, in defense of Ali Farkhzada, We saw this community come together in ways which are hard to describe. I want to again acknowledge Mollie Dumont, who played such a central role in mobilizing this community, and Saida Farkhzada Ali's sister, who came to campus, who served as an inspiration to so many of us. And by way of advertising, if any of you are free at 9:30 tomorrow morning, in Olin, we will have a special ceremony for the sanctuary students at Bard, where 46 students, mostly Afghans, but some Ukrainians and Russians, will have a special ceremony prior to graduation, gathering at 9:30 and moving forward at 10. So one of the great opportunities of educator is to honor their students. And today I have the great honor of introducing Ava Marie Quinones, class of 2017 in absentia, and Kevin Barbosa, class of 2018, both political studies majors, by the way, who will receive the John Dewey Award for Distinguished Public Service, which was established in 1990 to recognize extraordinary contributions by Bard alumni and others to the public sector or in the public interest.
We honor you, Ava Marie Quinones and Kevin Barbosa, for your commitment to community and justice, and particularly for your tenacious defense of Bard student Ali Sajjad Farkhzada, class of 2028, who was detained by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement while attending a required immigration appointment in October 2025. With the support of your law firm, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart Sullivan, LLP, you represented Farkhzada, and you were there the night he was finally released from detention in March 2026. You both perfectly embody John Dewey's belief that democracy is a way of life.
Thank you. Thank you, John, and thank you to the college, especially Jane Bryan, Janet Stetson, and I'm sure many other folks without whom this night wouldn't have been possible. I also, like John, want to extend particular thanks to Mollie Dumont, a faultless leader in our institution, whose coolness under pressure was an anchor to me and an inspiration as a student, and the entire coalition of Bardians and many others who came together to release the man that I was lucky enough to call my client, Ali Sajjad Farkhzada. I can speak for myself and my brilliant co-counsel and fellow Bardian, Eva Quinones, when I say that this is an incredible, unexpected, and extraordinarily generous award. Eva and I were both attorneys at Quinn Emanuel, a trial firm in New York. Eva and I were also great friends as Bard students, although our politics professors who watched our many absolutely bloodthirsty debates in Olin Hall over our respective, slightly different, but hyper-technocratic solutions for the geopolitical crises of the day, they would express extreme skepticism at the use of the word friends. But late one night in October 2025, Eva was procrastinating her work when she found out from a small local paper that Ali had been detained by ICE. She texted me a few minutes later and in classic Eva fashion wrote, "I know we both have to meet our billable hours and we have too much on our plate to do this, but I just saw this story about a Bard student that got detained. How do you feel about causing some good trouble?" That text precipitated a 6-month scorched earth war to fight for Ali's freedom. We joined a coalition led by Malia, John, Aaron Canan, Dumaine Williams, the Episcopal Diocese, political figures across our communities, including the governor of New York, who believed, each of us, to our core, that Ali's detention was abhorrent to every value held dear by this college and by our democracy. On our crest, there is the old Latin phrase from Revelation 2:10, Dapo tibi coronam vitae, I shall give you the crown of life. The verse is from a letter to the early Christians in Smyrna, a small, poor, persecuted church facing imprisonment and death under Rome. Jesus told them, don't be afraid of what's coming. Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. For Bard, founded by the Episcopal Church, the motto is a promise that a life devoted to learning, truth, and conscience, even when it's costly, leads to the fullest possible human flourishing. The crown of life isn't a reward in the afterlife, as much as the thing you become by refusing to desist in the face of impossible struggle. If you'll indulge me for just a moment, I want to tell you a bit of the truth of what happened in this particular case. Setting aside the media, the community outpour, the public leaders that joined Ali's cause, there was a much simpler day-to-day story. The reality of this case happened in an 8x8 room in a detention center in New Jersey with myself, Ali, and Eva trying to figure out how we were going to get out of this impossible situation. Ali had no reason to trust us. He'd never met us, and we were both at least 2 years younger than he was. But there was one thing we shared, Bard. This institution has stood for Palestinians, Ukrainians, Syrians, Afghans, Jews, Latinos, African Americans, queer people, the poor, the weary, the huddled masses yearning to be free. And it's fought every single time for freedom. This college welcomed Ali and so many other Afghans fleeing the Taliban after the fall of Kabul. The same country that they fought to build a free and democratic Afghanistan. This college gave me, the child of refugees fleeing the former military dictatorship in Brazil, the son of a housekeeper and a taxi driver, generous financial aid, and the opportunity to go to law school and one day fight for an immigrant that came to this country looking for something, looking for freedom. This college gave Eva and I one another and so many other lifelong mentors and friends, and eventually brothers and sisters in a war that would define our career as young attorneys. And while I'm now in public service at our state's Supreme Court, Eva is still by Ali's side, fighting every day for his fundamental dignity and for his right to be here in a fragile, cracked, and uncertain democracy. Eva and I both are grateful for this award, but the reality is that this is an award for Malia, for John, for Aaron, for Dumaine, and for so many others. But for most of all, it is for Ali. To speak only for myself for a moment, Ali, fighting for you has been the greatest honor of my lifetime. You are what my mother would call um homem do bem, a good man, a brave man, and my brother. Seeing you, sorry, it's the onions and the salad, it's a lot of stuff. Seeing you walk free today, after the hundreds of hours that I spent with you at Delaney Hall, is the greatest reward that I could ever dream. And although I'm still more than a little upset that it seemed like every pound that you lost in detention somehow ended up on my waistline, your freedom demonstrates that somehow, some way, those of us willing to cause some good trouble can still lead the way. Thank you.
I now call upon Charles S. Johnson III, class of 1970, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Aaron Canan, Vice President for Civic Engagement and Deputy Director for the Bard Center for Civic Engagement, to bring forward the recipient of the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service.
I have the honor of introducing Imran Ahmed, class of 2002, as the recipient of the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service, Libya, which is awarded in recognition of the extraordinary and selfless work of members of the Bard community on behalf of the well-being of individuals threatened by injustice, violence, and tyranny.
We honor you, Imran Ahmed, for your dedication to public service. You left a career in the finance sector to return to Bangladesh to take over the Shakti Foundation, which was founded by your mother. Now, one of the top 10 NGOs in Bangladesh, it has helped provide access to finance and health care, and to secure legal rights for women and children, impacting more than 600,000 people. You have bettered the lives from Bard to Bangladesh and beyond.
Some things never change. I got my last award at Bard exactly 24 years ago. I was a senior graduating, woken up by my buddy screaming at me to go to Klein Commons, Leon's calling my name. I still remember it. I took that award in my pajamas, Leon. This time I'm more prepared. It's all the more special to receive it because I have my beautiful wife and my son with me. Again. I also gave my last speech at Bard 24 years ago. It was the baccalaureate speech for my class in 2002. I made the remark, and I truly believe in it to this day, that Bard is a beautiful bubble. And we should take this bubble globally. We should make this entire world the Bard bubble. Because there are reasons. I'll tell you why. I'll give you 3 compelling reasons. One is honesty. This notion of ethics. I mean, I truly believe one is not born with it. One learns, one grows, and makes mistakes. And Bard gives you the space to make mistakes and to learn and to grow. And this is something that by the end of it, you realize integrity, ethics, these things matter, right? Through this journey of 4 years. So this is something that I need to turn my mic up a little bit. Now I hope everyone can hear me. Okay. Honesty. The second thing I would like to say is problem solving, right? And so I'm a DSS scholar, distinguished scientist scholar, like many of the people over here. So other than math, interestingly, in second year, I became a peer counselor, right? I had no idea how to handle issues of the dorm, but you learn, right? Dumaine is cracking up. We had some interesting times together. Then I ran my Muslim student organization, international student organization, student government. But what it does is it allows you to solve problems, and there are always problems to solve for, right? So again, I didn't realize it. I took it for granted. Then I get out of Bard and I realize, okay, you're actually quite prepared to handle this world, right? The third and the most important thing that doesn't naturally come to a math major, empathy. And over here, I have to say I'm forever grateful to my friends, many of whom are here. Pia, Dumaine, Mollie, so many of you who are here, Luke. I can never forget 9/11, right? I was a Bangladeshi Muslim at that time. During 9/11, I was a junior and a plane is crashing in. We are all having breakfast and our lives changed forever. And this beautiful bubble, right? Leon, Dimitri, Aaron, Jonathan, they just surrounded you and didn't let you feel anything. And then you walk out, again, you feel it's a different world, right? But you're prepared. And it doesn't stop there, right? It's just not your friends, it's your staff, it's your faculty. I'm forever grateful to Mark Halsey, right? Professor Mullen, who were like just amazing people, always there, always allowing you to make mistakes and learn and grow. And this is something that I carry on 24 years later, like it's ingrained in me. The reason I'm saying all this is these are interesting times. And the folks before me say the same things as well, right? So whatever I learn, something's wrong somewhere. The wrongs that we know are somehow being justified as right. And there are people who are buying this. Things are so much more challenging, right? Where Nobel Peace laureates, right, including my own country, Bangladesh, who are supposed to be the upholders of peace, are not so peaceful, right? Something that you learn. Where social media judgment and misinformation becomes the measure of your work. Where it's easy to divide than to unite. It's almost easier to do nothing than to actually do work. While the world is busy creating more and more wealth, interestingly enough, just to give you an example, now Elon Musk is worth more than the entire value of Bangladesh that holds almost 200 million people. So one person is valued more than 200 million people out there, right? Somehow the art of giving is disappearing. To Leon's point, right? It's so easy to say $500 million. Now, if you ask for funding, if you look at a good cause, right? As many of you might know that we host the largest Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. Funding is getting cut more and more and more every single day, while all the talk is there. But when it comes to meaningful work, you're not finding engagement. This is the reality of life. Somehow you're asking for returns. Returns on what? Humanity. It's tough to measure, right? But even then, we nudge along. We try to fight the good fight, defend those who need defending, believe that rule of law matters, that you are presumed innocent unless proven guilty. This is something that was ingrained in my head over here, and this is something I believe to my core. You know that you are doing something right in my world when intelligence agencies give you more calls than your wife, which is happening, which is great. So not to my wife that much, but it's the... And finally, I know I'm not deserving of this award, but I'll take it because Bard has always given me without asking. It has constantly given me. I know I can never return what Bard has done for me, but do know Bard and Leon. Whatever good I do, you will always be one of the most important reasons for it. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you.
I now call upon Kimberly Marteau Emerson, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Roger Berkowitz, Professor of Political Studies and Human Rights and Academic Director of the Hannah Arendt Center for Politics and Humanities, to bring forward the recipient of the Mary McCarthy Award.
I have the extraordinary honor of introducing Marilyn Robinson, who will receive the Mary McCarthy Award, given in recognition of engagement in the public sphere by an intellectual, artist, or writer, or in this case, all three.
Marilyn Robinson, you are a writer of rare depth and independence, inviting readers to confront the fullness of human experience. As a teacher, you have nurtured generations of writers devoted to language, craft, creativity, and intellectual courage. As the great humanist essayist of our time, your work reminds us that science illuminates the world but cannot exhaust its meaning, that each of us is a world unto ourselves, animated by memory, conscience, imagination, and grace.
It's a great honor to be here. And of course, to be honored in this way is very moving to me. I have spent a great part of my life in universities and colleges, and I had never come to Bard before. Part of the reason I came here is because it has really a beautiful reputation in the larger world. And I always felt as if I knew Bard, even though I was so late made a visit here. I spent many years, my major career actually, in a great big state university where I taught writers, and I was privileged to see this inexplicable alchemy that changes learning and conversation and judgment and good faith into work that becomes part of the world's literary culture. This happens over and over again, and it's for me the thing that says most about what is possible in American education. It really works. It's really a fine and brilliant elaboration of what was culturally possible in this country. I think we should be much prouder of it than we are. I think we should be much more protective of it than we are. I think we should realize that, as all the people that have come up here have said, it trains souls, you know, it brings spirits to the point of achieving at very beautiful levels and so on. In any case, I'm very grateful to be here. I was as impressed as I expected to be, maybe a little more. And thank you very much.
We now turn to the presentation of the 2026 Bardian Award, which is a formalization of the Bard College Alumni Association's tradition of honoring longtime members of the Bard community. Tonight, we have the pleasure of honoring one such colleague with this award. I now call upon Leon Botstein, president of the college, and Brandon Weber, class of 1997 and chair of the Board of Trustees of the college, as we present the 2026 Bardian Award. Oh, it's still me. I also have the pleasure of calling upon Valerie Barr, the Margaret Hamilton Distinguished Professor of Computer Science, to join us at the lectern with tonight's Bardian Award recipient.
First, I want to give a shout out to Mollie, because I think she's had the hardest job all night. I have the honor of introducing my colleague extraordinaire, sadly retiring, much beloved Associate Professor of Computer Science, Sven Anderson, as the recipient of the 2026 Bardian Award.
We thank you, Sven Anderson, for your commitment to computer science education at Bard for nearly a quarter of a century. You played a key role in developing the cognitive science concentration, today known as the mind, brain, and behavior concentration, and contributed courses that spanned the curriculum and included required major courses at all levels, non-major courses, and electives such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cognitive science.
This is not the prize, it's a model. And to get a Bardian, yeah, it's a little bit small. Did you choose the chair? No, we usually give these kinds of chairs, but Sven has more originality than that. And we have a motto which is nailed into the back of the chair. This is just a maquette. And I have to say that I have no idea what it means. It's some kind of coding. It's conspiratorially incomprehensible. But it pays tribute to his field, which is a very important field, which he had a tremendous impact in developing. And the presenter, Valerie, where are you? Come over here. She is also a Bard BSEC parent and a distinguished computer scientist who helped us build data analytics and is working on spreading that through all the Bard high school networks. A wonderful colleague, and Sven's presence here gave her the sense that she could work here and build up the program, which Sven helped really build from the ground up. So we are very deeply grateful to Sven and to your colleagues, and we wish you the very best in the years ahead. Don't try to sit in it, and maybe you can explain what it means.
Full disclosure, I intend to tell the truth. It is time for me to go, and I learned this tonight. How did I learn it? I didn't know I was going to speak before a proud of you. Until yesterday when Valerie pointed this out. An oversight. And so I begged my young colleagues who I helped hire to help me out. One would have me swear like a sailor, I will not be that man. Others, well, I give you this. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. But that's not me. So when I first read the letter from President Botstein that I had been awarded or could receive the award for the Bardian, I was ambivalent, to say the least, because for God's sake, I was just doing my job. But Janet Stetson pointed out that if I played it right, I'd get a chair. And the chair would sit above the Hudson River, with which I am physically intimate, as many know. And well, I was all in after that. So to recount history, I found Bard way back in 2001, halfway through President Botstein's reign, due to my sweet wife, who sits there, having an internship in Poughkeepsie, and by happenstance, I ran across Bard because of its sign that sits along 9G, I suspect. I quickly realized this is a place where teaching, no, not teaching, learning is cherished, and I really believed that. And I had so often been in situations where I taught myself because there was no learning to be had from others. My fellow faculty here would very quickly cause me to up my game, and I'm thankful to many of them. Valerie and Keith O'Hara come readily to mind. So I simply express my deepest gratitude to my students of the past 25 classes, some of whom are here, I might add, and to my colleagues in all 4 divisions, who I learned a great deal from and love dearly. And of course, to Leon's great vision and his love of this place. I close by noting that together, we've built a home. Not a college, but a home that attracts folks who care deeply about humanity and the life of the mind. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Congratulations again to our awardees and to everyone celebrating a reunion this year. Tomorrow at commencement, as Leon already pointed out, 2 of our alumni will be receiving honorary degrees. Katie Stein, class of 1966, and Jack Blum, class of 1962, who's also a Board of Governor Emeritus member. Congratulations, Jack. If you think your evening's done, it's not over. I'm about to be, though. If you'd like to attend the concert at the Richard B. Fisher Center for the Performing Arts, the buses are leaving from the Klein parking lot. If you instead would like to go to Klein, that's where the Annandale Roadhouse is happening tonight. Tomorrow, on top of commencement and many other activities, there is the Alumni HQ at the Campus Center in the afternoon, and then photos, and then fireworks. And on Sunday, we're having brunch incline where I will be your host again. And finally, if you're an award winner or just want to get your picture taken, there's a step and repeat. So step and repeat before you leave. I hope to see you throughout this wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. Have a great night.